it is by far the largest. I think there's 4.9 billion people on social media, and 2.5 or 2.9 billion is Facebook. So it is still the largest platform, and it's my favorite. But I just want people to, when they take the time to comment on my pictures, especially if it's a business post, I take the time to comment back. And my pro tip is, if you can respond to a few, 5 or 6 at one point, and then shut it down, and you come back later and respond to a few more, it keeps that post in their feed, and they just keep seeing it over and over and over.
Welcome to the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur, where we, Becky
and Monique, your new biz besties, both busy moms just like you.
We're here to talk all things network marketing, mom life, and how to truly live out your calling. We'll be dropping 2 episodes each week to help you, the busy mompreneur, know the exact strategies to build both your business and your home. You'll hear each week from one of the top network marketers on their best tips for what's led to their success and what's working now.
We know that you're here because you are called to something more. You have a desire to succeed in both your business and at home, and we are going to teach you how. If you love what you hear here on the podcast and want to be one of our success stories, join us inside our community, the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur, where we provide a daily social media action plan, additional resources, kingdom coaching, and more. Click the show notes for the link to join. So let's get into the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur. We have another amazing guest today, and Becky and I are so excited to sit down and chat with none other than Chelsey McMillen. Hey, Chelsey.
Hey, girls. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So if you have not heard of Chelsey, she is in real estate. She first started out in the direct sales world. She and I were actually in the same company together. And when I think of Chelsey, I just thought of this powerhouse young person who she came in and she was like doing the thing. And every other person was like, okay, Chelsey, can you tell us what you're doing? Like, tell us all your tips of how you're doing so incredible with sales. And I think I just view you as somebody who you go after your goals and you achieve your goals. You're driven, you're ambitious, you are someone that others look at and they are inspired by what you do. You're also a wife to your husband, Brad, and a mom to your adorable twin boys. And you have pivoted from the direct sales industry into having a boutique, and now you are in real estate. And so you've been in real estate for less than 1 year and sold $2.5 million of sales. And so I know you're stepping into that industry. But Chelsey, welcome to the podcast. We'd love for you to share a little bit more about you.
You're so awesome. I felt the same way about you and Premiere. So, yeah, it was really cool to just make those relationships. That's one of the things that I love the most about direct sales is all of those relationships. And those, I mean, gosh, that was probably 2010 to 20, I don't even know, 8 years. And I still have, so those are some of my very best friends still to this day. So super great. So yeah, I am a Louisiana girl married to a super handsome Mississippi man. I'm 37 years old. We do have 2 twin boys, almost 5 years old. They are so much fun. And yeah, just a quick background. So I went to school for graphic design. I worked at an ad agency for 5 years. And then towards the end of that, I started Premier Designs. And that was my intro into direct sales. And really, I feel like everything I learned about life and business came from direct sales. So I'll get into that a little bit later. But I did eventually go full time into Premier Designs. That was my full time career for 8, almost 9 years, I think. And then pivoted into an online boutique for about 6 years. And then crazy here, I find myself in real estate for the last year. So I kind of like to call myself a self taught marketer. Facebook is my jam. People are my passion. So that is me in a nutshell.
Okay, I am so excited you're hanging out with us because I feel like so many women and probably lots of people, maybe not just women and moms, but lots of people allude to their success in business, right? No matter what industry, as a result of, hey, I started in direct sales or network marketing, right? Like, I think because there's so much about direct sales that is terrifying, that if you can overcome and find success in that industry, it almost makes you have the confidence to do, I don't want to say anything, right? But anything in regards to marketing and sales, because so many of the skills, like you said, are that you really need just in any business are taught, and a lot of times taught for free, right? In this industry. So yeah, I appreciate that you said that. And so I'm curious, how do you feel like, your time in direct sales, how did that kind of lead into real estate? Like, are you just, were you passionate about and like loved looking at new homes, or I'm just curious, like, how did that transition come about?
So interesting you asked that. So it is, I'm still learning why I'm in real estate. Um, Actually, after my boutique, I had a pretty hard year. I was still in my boutique, but just figuring out what my next step was. And I prayed so hard that year. And I just really had a hard time hearing from the Lord. I talked to Monique a lot about this. Um, and I struggled. And prior to that, I had a direct step, a very obvious next step for my career for each industry. And so that 1 year of praying and seeking the Lord, and I had a lot of people, my husband specifically, telling me, you'd be great at real estate. And I just did not see it, didn't see it. Because I thought that is such a professional job. I have a background in marketing and art and people and jewelry and clothes. That does not translate to real estate to me at all. Um, and honestly, my super wise husband just kept saying, "Babe, you have so many skills that it's really hard to teach. You know, especially in direct sales, you learn how to cultivate relationships. You learn how to put people over profits. You learn customer service. You learn how to manage your own schedule, or how he says, work your own book of business, because he's in corporate sales. Um, and all of those things that I learned in direct sales, and specifically how to, run my day, be my own boss, um, very specifically how to market myself. I didn't realize all those things were going to allow me to hit the ground running in real estate. And as these new agents are, you know, everybody dreams of being like working for themselves. And so then you don't realize how hard it is when you actually are your own boss. So since I've had that experience, it's allowed me to like start in real estate and just go, not have to learn how to manage my day, not how to learn how to, talk to people and cultivate relationships or market myself. I just learned all that in direct sales. So
Yeah. Well, and I think I appreciate that you said that, because people, I think from the outside looking in, if they're successful in a career that does require them to show up at a certain time and, juggle like about dropping their kids off at daycare or doing this or doing that, you would think that it would translate to working from home. But that is one of the things that I definitely, especially mothers, especially moms, like work from home moms, struggle with, is the discipline it takes to manage your day, and the things that you have to prepare ahead of time. Otherwise, you're constantly in catch up mode, overwhelm, and things that, might not seem like they should be a priority, because it's like, oh, well, I work for myself, right? So I have all this flexible time. When really it's like, yes, you can have a flexible schedule, right? You can create your own schedule, but you still have to show up and do the work, right? And so I think that you're exactly right. Like, it takes discipline, it takes, and just tweaking and changing. And I'm sure through the years, right, as you went from direct sales to your own boutique and then now as a realtor, I think he's exactly right. There are some things that just have to be learned. And a lot of times it's as a result of, tweaking and changing and making mistakes and figuring out what works best, but willing to continue to, to figure that out. So yeah, I appreciate that you said that, because I think that's something that people would just assume translates, but it doesn't. I've coached a lot of women and they're just like, I just don't have the time or this, that, and the other. And the reality is it's like everyone has the time, but it's how you prepare and how disciplined you are.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is discipline. Like that is what it boils down to. And I remember, Chelsey, the moment when you went from working your graphic design career to doing Premiere full time, and you had to create that discipline. Like you had to learn, okay, what does it look like for me to be my own boss, and how do I structure my day? How do I, when you don't have a plan B, you have no other option but to figure it out. And I think sometimes for people who struggle to make things happen, I always wonder, like, is your why big enough? Or do you have another thing that, hey, if this doesn't work out, that's all right. It's not a big deal. Or I can always go back to this. But if you are like, all right, if this does not work out, I'm not gonna be able to buy groceries. Like that's a whole different level of showing up in your business. So I'd love to go back to what you were saying about relationships and marketing, because I think you're exactly right. I think relationships are a huge piece of how that transfers in real estate. But you are also so great at showing up on social media. You're consistent. You do a really great job of balancing like your humor, your home life, your children, but then also this professional side of you and the real estate side of you, the business side of you. And so I'd love for you to share if somebody was wanting to grow their business on social media, what advice would you give them?
Okay, so that's a great question. I wrote down five just to kind of keep it simple. Five things, and I can elaborate. But the top five things, as I really thought through, how have I done this well? What have I done? Because I have been on social media for, since we had to have a college email to get onto Facebook. That's how long I've been on there, however long that is. So five things. You are your brand, and that translates no matter what. If you're in direct sales, a professional career, whatever you are doing, you are the brand, not the company that you represent. I think that you have to remember that first and foremost. The second thing is to be authentic. I've got a really cool stat for that in a second. Post consistently and also engage. Kind of a two-part. Tell a story and offer value. So those were my five things. So I'll elaborate on these a little bit. So I have, especially in real estate, where I walked in thinking, all I have is a self-taught marketing background, not even like I went to college for that. I should have had accounting. I should have had finance. I should have had all these things that these very professional people have. What God quickly showed me is that people don't know how to market themselves and how strong of a skill set that is that I've been cultivating. So, no matter what career you're in, again, I'm with Keller Williams, but nobody finds me because of Keller Williams. They find me because of me. So there's only one you. Nobody else can do the things the way that you do. God gifted us all differently, and I just feel like the quicker you lean into that and know, get out of that comparison trap, the more confident you just are able to show up online. Um, Another part of that, which people don't love to hear, is because you are the brand, you have to put your face out there. So, I mean, I have my face. I have, one specific brand photo, and I just put it across all of my platforms. It's on all of my signs, all of my marketing, because that is the person that somebody's going to connect with, not a big corporate Keller Williams, not a big corporate direct sales company. It has to be personal. It has to be you. So, on that note, you've got to have people just need to connect with your voice. You've got to show up on videos, and you just have to bring them along on your journey. So that's really you are your brand. Found this cool quote on being authentic. So I looked up Forbes said that 50%, because all of us girls on this call are millennials right now, 50% of millennials trust their favorite social media influencer, trust their recommendations on products more than their favorite celebrity, which is only 38%. The key to that is authenticity, which 88% of millennials say they value authenticity in the influencers they follow. So it's just a really big deal. I feel like we are just finally coming out of all the over filtered things, all the, fake on Facebook, and people are finally like getting back to, okay, this is me, this is who I am. And that's why people, follow you, like you, trust you when they know who you are.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally agree.
yeah. Okay. You want me to keep going or y'all need me to?
Yeah. So share
Yeah,
with us a
girl,
little
this
bit
is
about
good stuff.
posting consistently was your third one.
Okay. Um, okay, so one of the main reasons I think my social media is so successful is that I show up consistently. I have done, social media posting in multiple businesses for myself for so many years. It's become just kind of a natural habit. So at this point, I post pretty well every day. But the key of social media is that you're creating authentic content and that you are doing that consistently. If you don't have those two things, it really is just not going to work out for you. So whatever platform you're on, if you can post 3 times a week, post 3 times a week. If you can post five, post five. But one important thing about that is the average person is just stalking on Facebook. So they're not posting, they're not interacting, they're just there watching. And you don't really realize how many people are doing that until you start posting consistently. Then you immediately are one of the top and you're showing up in their feed all the time just because you're there. So I feel like that is one of the smartest, easiest tactics is just to show up constantly. Um,
So can
okay.
I ask okay, I'm just curious personally, what does that look like for you? Is it once a day? Is it, twice, 5 days a week? Like what does consistency look like for you?
I'm pretty much once a day at this point. And, I should be probably telling you girls to schedule your content and use, apps. And I just am not always, I'm not that prepared. Um,
Well,
Well, and
and
it might, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, and actually, there's a lot of studies that show unless you're using Meta's platform to schedule, and even then, it's less likely for your engagement to be good because it's like the algorithm, right, or whatever, like the platform itself knows if it's a third party or not.
right.
And so it's kind of one of those things where they want you to be on their app. And so if you're not on it and then posting, and it's like you've scheduled it out and it just is showing up. Now, I do think there is some, right? Like on a business page or whatever, like, or just a brand like, I don't know, Crumble Cookie or something, something like that. It's different, right? Like to have content consistently or even, but I do think kind of what we're talking about here, like you being the brand, it's like, do you have to share your entire life? No, but people want to know, right? I think that's why we trust, because I'm the same way. Like what you shared about trusting influencers over celebrities, 1,000%, right? Because I'm also looking at it through the lens of like, well, I am getting a peek behind the scenes of what is going on in this person's real life. And so they're more relatable because maybe they have kids or they have whatever, and or I aspire to live their life versus a celebrity. I'm like, I don't really want to aspire to live your life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, there's too much drama in Hollywood anyway. And like, why would I want to do that? I don't want to be an actor or whatever. Right. And so I do think there's just a lot of power in the, I guess, just organic showing up. Like even, and maybe I don't know your opinions of this, but even like sometimes like no makeup or, and just sharing like at the pool with the kids or whatever. And it's not like you have to share like every single thing, right? But it's just that people feel a sense of connection when they know what's going on in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I feel like it just allows me to be more authentic when I'm sharing kind of in the moment.
Yeah.
Now, with my business, which, everybody kind of knows or you should know the rule, the 80-20 rule of 80% personal, 20% business. So my 80% personal is very organic. My business may be a little bit more planned out where I go and, record a house and come back and create the reel. And then maybe I plan to post that on Friday afternoon or Sunday night.
Yeah. Well, and that should be. I mean, that's that we talk a lot about batching your work and how, because then you're not like, oh no, I need to go, you're at the pool with your kids all day and oh man, I don't have any content. So now I got to go shower real quick and you're frazzled or something. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, I think that is why you're so successful is because you are intentional and plan ahead. So I think that's a great word of advice.
Okay, so the engagement part, this is one of my favorite tips. I call it a pro tip. Maybe everybody knows it. I don't know. But one thing that's just not negotiable for me is I always engage with my people. So Facebook is my preferred platform. I actually have another stat on Facebook here too, but it is by far the largest. I think there's 4.9 billion people on social media, and 2.5 or 2.9 billion is Facebook. So it is still the largest platform, and it's my favorite. But I just want people to, when they take the time to comment on my pictures, especially if it's a business post, I take the time to comment back. And my pro tip is, if you can respond to a few, 5 or 6 at one point, and then shut it down, and you come back later and respond to a few more, it keeps that post in their feed, and they just keep seeing it over and over and over. But you know, again, going back to direct sales, building relationships, I had to learn how to virtually build relationships, and that is one very simple way. It takes time, but I'm just not willing to sacrifice that. That is how I build a relationship on Facebook. Is to engage with people and respond to them. Hey, girl, thanks so much. I hope you are doing well. Or how's your son? So that is really important to me. Also, just being a storyteller. I think that, kind of like you said, people just want to, a peek behind the scenes. They want a day in the life. And I struggled with this really because I've, had such fun, artsy jewelry, clothes type of content. And now I'm going into houses. And that is, I didn't answer your question earlier. That is not my passion. I do not just enjoy going to see houses. I don't watch HGTV. And for all those reasons, I was like, I shouldn't be in real estate. I should not. This is way too professional for me. So I really did struggle being a content creator. How am I going to make real estate fun? How am I going to make it engaging? And then I just reminded myself, if I just take people on my journey like I've done in all of my other careers, it's going to be the same thing. So I took them, as I was studying to take the test, as I passed my test, I let them celebrate with me. When the day that I got my business card, and it was, professional. I just did a quick video of my business card. There was one day that sometimes I get really smart on social media and ask people their opinion. It's a genius tactic. So I shouldn't even admit this on this phone call, but I had already chosen my picture, but I posted it anyway. So I posted, should I go with the white shirt? Should I go with the red shirt for my brand picture? I knew which one I was going with.
Right. But
I
people want to give their opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I posted on my business page, I shared it to my Facebook, and it, for me personally, I don't know what viral means, but it went viral for me. Just everybody saying red, white, red, white, red, white. And those are the things that I've done along the way. I mean, of course I show, a new listing, for sale, all the things, but really taking them along my journey with me, taking them to training, taking them to open houses. That is really how I've, helped tell a story about real estate instead of it just being, hey, I've got a new listing.
Well, and because you're creating a brand, right? So that when someone does say, oh, you know what, my cousin's moving to whatever, Rutherford County, or, I don't know where you live, but, wherever you live, right? My cousin's moving there. So they need a realtor and they think of you, right? And it's because it's not always necessarily about, I need to sell my house or I need whatever, but you're creating this person, this trusted persona, right? Where the more you show up, people are like, okay, she's still doing that. I mean, that's what we tell people, clients that we serve. It's like, you showing up on social media is more than just getting someone to purchase your product or to, contact you to sell their home. It's you are becoming a trusted person in that field. You're saying, hey, I'm still here when we are, in this ever-changing landscape of social media where, yeah, people tend to jump from thing to thing. And your transition has been, obviously you're trusted in each field because you're there for a while, right? Like, and so I think that's a piece of it, that people want to feel a sense of like, okay, if I'm going to work with her, like this is her thing, this is what she's known for, or I can trust her to take care of, my cousin or my friend or my boss or whoever it is. I think that's a part of it, is you showing up and being consistent and letting people watch that journey, because like you said, they want to see behind the scenes, but also they want to contribute. They want to give their opinion. So, yeah, lots of good gold nuggets you're sharing. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I feel like when you brand you, you can very easily transition from one career to the next thing because people are drawn to you. And I think
Exactly.
that's, just, Chelsey, I've followed you online for several years now. And so I've kind of watched that evolution. And it doesn't matter. It's like people don't really care what the specific thing is. They're like, oh, she's doing that. Okay, I'm like cheering her on. I'm supporting her. If that's something that they could use that service, like they will send a referral or whatever because they are drawn to you. And I think that's a really important piece that people need to recognize because, we have watched with the clients that we've worked with, and there's two different ways that people can do this. One is they can brand themselves with their company and everything be about their company. And then if their company closes the doors or something happens, then they are totally lost and feel like,
Mhm.
okay, where do I go from here? Versus when you show up and you brand you and you talk about you and you talk about how you're serving people and you bring people in on that journey, you share your story, all those kinds of things that we've also seen where people make a transition and other people are like, hey, whatever they're doing, I want to be part of that because they're so connected to that brand.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of go off of that a little bit, one of my biggest fears getting into real estate was, why would somebody choose me over a seasoned agent? Tons of people are real estate agents. I've never been in this field before. Everybody's gonna know I'm brand new because I have such a large following on social media. So why are they gonna choose me? Um, and honestly, because I took them along my journey and I've kept them, engaged with me. I mean, when I see, it was almost immediate. I was seeing people out, in the real world, and their first statement to me was, "Oh my gosh, you're in real estate. How's it going?" And it just encouraged me so much that it wasn't weird to them. And my social media was so powerful, that even the people that I didn't realize were following me, were paying attention.
Mm,
So it really is. I love that it's powerful, and it's also, most of the time, it's free. It's just free marketing, and
yeah.
it's genuine and organic, and it's just where I spend all of my time. I don't like to spend a bunch of marketing dollars, even though I am a marketer. So
Right. So, so speaking of that, in 2024, right, in the social media, we've talked a lot about marketing and you've obviously had success irregardless of the company or industry leveraging, Facebook and social media. I would love to know, what do you feel like has been the most, successful in regards to, like, what kind of content that you're putting out online is the most successful, I guess, in today's social media landscape?
Um, so as far as the type of content, short form video, kills everything.
Right.
So the videos that are less than 1 minute, reels, lives, any pre-recorded. Um, I try to tell people too, you can even turn your pictures into a reel. Just any way you can make a video. You don't have to show your face every time. You can talk over, the reel so people are hearing your voice. But I try to do as much video as possible. Um, as far as the actual content, I do use my kids a lot. Um, Not only because I love them, but people are just attracted to them, and that is really my target market is my age group and moms, and um, so I use my family a lot. I love doing funny stuff, relatable things, and anything that can solve a problem. So, for instance, like, kind of, I was telling you this a little bit, but because I'm on a mission to, like, figure out, how do I make real estate engaging, or how would you make your direct sales product engaging, instead of just posting, I just closed on this house, or hey, here's a new listing. I've just started to try to tell a story about how I met that person, why they're selling, how I solved a problem for them, or how I helped them buy a house, what issues we had along the way, and how I can prove my value, that I help them get up, get past those issues, and actually close on that deal. And that feels so less salesy to me. Um, no matter what product you're pushing, that you're just circling it with a story.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, sorry,
I
Becky.
know. I'm like, we're both like, yeah, I got this. Go ahead, buddy.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, we talk a lot about how stories give people hope. And I think in your example that you gave, that's exactly what that is. It's, if you bring somebody on a story of, hey, this person just moved or they just expanded their family and they were looking for this type of home. And, we had a really hard time finding this, but I helped them find whatever the story is, right? Like you bring people in on that. Someone who is in that kind of situation where they're looking, or maybe they are in that same season of life and you share how you helped someone else, they're going to feel very much connected to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was even thinking about just for our direct sellers that are listening to this, network marketers, like for recruiting, even, right? Like I just immediately thought how I used to always do a post like, I'm so excited to welcome so and so to my team, right? And just like shout them out online, almost like announcing their business. But I immediately thought, like, man, the power in that post of you sharing, how you know that person and, what it is that they're wanting out of the business and why they decided to sign up and try it out. And, or even like a host, if someone's like, has a host and like what, just the power of sharing someone else's story, because yeah, it might seem like, yes, we are the brand and we want to be relatable, but sometimes our story, people look at and they think, oh, that's so far off. I could never do what Chelsey does, or I could never do, what Becky does, or I could never, or, oh, I just can't afford right now to buy another house, or I can't, whatever. Right. And then they hear of this person's story and they resonate with it. They're like, wow, that is my story. Or, oh my goodness, I'm a teacher too. I didn't think I could afford to move right now. Or, oh my goodness, like, I'm a teacher too. I didn't know I could start a side hustle or whatever it might be. And I just think the power of, just like you said, letting people, feel like almost they can take a peek behind the scenes of what transpired, to come to that decision or to come to that sale of the home or to, start that business or whatever it might be. That is the power of social media, because then people start to think, well, maybe I could too, right? Maybe that could be me. And so I just, for those that are listening, that are, our audience are, mompreneurs who are trying to leverage social media because there is so much power in it. I would just encourage you, like she said, to really take to heart what Chelsea's sharing, because I think that in itself is probably the most powerful thing that we've talked about, is that when people feel a sense of connection, because I've made several pivots and I have had success, pretty, I wouldn't say easily, right? It's not easy, right? But it's because you've worked for so long to build that brand and that audience that when you do make a pivot, people want to be a part of it because they trust you.
Right.
So yeah, I think you're exactly right. Video is queen on social media right now. And any way that you can make people feel like they're able to be a part of your journey, they're going to feel a sense of connection and trust, and they want to support you. Even if it's not them doing business with you, they want to help you, I mean, I even just sent Venmo, like this is so random, you guys. But I follow this guy on social media. He's hilarious, and he used to be gay and he's not anymore. And he is always like ministering and like talking about Christ. And like, it's just really he's hilarious. Like he
I
did
think
a
I
video.
follow the same
Yeah,
guy.
I'm
Is
sure
he like in New
everyone does.
York?
He did a video on like, my pronouns are redeemed. He's just so funny. He's really hilarious. Well, he got fired because he talks about, because of his social media. I mean, basically he got fired for it. So that was really sad, but I like Venmoed him $20, right? I'm not saying it to be like, yay me, but just the power of, I'm like, I want to help this guy out. I want to encourage him, right? Because I do follow his journey and I am like, you're doing really cool things, right? And so that's the power of social media. It's like $20. It doesn't seem like it makes a difference, right? But as you build your brand and there's more awareness, and you're consistent, you become trusted, then that is when people say, hey, I want to help this person. I want to, I want to contribute to I want to see them have success. And that's what you've been able to do, Chelsey.
Chelsey, you've shared about your two boys, and so I'm sure that balancing being a working mom has its own unique challenges. Can you speak to that a little bit? How do you balance being that working mom?
So I was thinking about that. And when I was in direct sales, I was single and then I was a newlywed. So I feel like I really got to just go hard in direct sales and really learn a lot just uninterrupted. I got to go on all the trips, all the trainings, across the country. Um, and then when I started the boutique with my partner, um, I guess it was maybe a year into that, I became pregnant, and then we had the boys, and then I had to learn how this works. Um, so that has been a journey also. Um, our families don't live close, so I mean, my parents are 2 hours, my in-laws are 3.5, and so again, going back to my connections I made in Premier, I have two, well, no, three or four best friends from Premier, and they have helped me so much with my kids. So that's just a huge testimony. But um, I, it's been a work in progress. So when they were little, I had help probably 3 days a week, and they stayed here, and I went to my office. And I just learned that I have a certain amount of time to get done just the things that I can do when they're not here, when they're not screaming in the background, or when they're not needing to be fed, or when I'm falling asleep on the couch. So I really kind of quickly learned how to prioritize those things that can only do when they're not around. Um, and so that was live videos. That was putting on my makeup, doing live videos, doing things that, didn't want to have little people in my area for. And then anything like posting on social media or anything behind the scenes I could do at home if I had to. Um, so I learned that we did schedule a lot of our posts back then. Um, and then now, they're almost 5. And so it's a little bit easier. It always gets easier. But now, they can play together while I work for a little while. And then, we can spend time together. But we, right now they're in summer school. So, but the framework was built when they were small, that I have a certain amount of time to do what I need to do. And then I need to be present when I'm home with my boys. And that's a really hard thing to learn, especially as an entrepreneur. Again, this is a work in progress and I've learned a lot, but the work never stops when you're your own boss. And so I'm always, even if I'm sitting on the couch watching Nemo, I'm thinking about those 4 posts that I really wanted to make, for the rest of the week, or that person that I meant to reach out to today that I didn't. And so I keep a list in my phone. As they go to sleep, I may do a few more things before I go to sleep. But I have tried really hard to just be intentional with them. I also kind of had to come to terms with this. I love to work, and I'm my best self when I get to be productive and be competitive and really push myself. And so without that, I struggle to be fully present at home because I feel like there's something missing. So, just to encourage you working moms, I feel like God gave us work for a reason and He gave us our family for a reason, and those two things can coexist. So kind of lost my train of thought there.
Well, I
Um,
love what you said. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I love what you
that's
said
okay.
about the time that you have getting things done in that time frame, because I think that goes back to our earlier conversation about discipline. And it is so true. Like when you are a mom and you have these small pockets of time in your day, it forces you to be really intentional and purposeful with that time.
Well,
Yep.
and there's literally like a law around that where it says like, and I can't remember. I feel like it starts with an H. I'm sure it'll come to my mind later. But anyway, you can Google it. But literally, it's like if you have a certain amount of time and there's something you have to get done, you'll get it done. And also, if you have all this time or there's no time constraint, that's how long it's going to take, right? Like if you're like, I need to clean my house before everyone comes over, magically you clean your house in an hour, right? Or you get done the necessary things for it to be presentable. Versus if you're like, I need to clean my house this week. Well, then all week goes by, and then the very last day, you're cleaning your house, right? And it takes you like 7 hours with what you got done in like 1 hour or whatever, right? And so it just goes to show that, it can be done, right? Just like you said, it can coexist, but you just really have to be intentional.
Yeah.
So first of all, I love your story. I just sent you a friend request. I'm like, cause I realized I do follow you on Instagram, but I was like, oh, I am not friends with her yet on Facebook. So I'm excited to, watch you and get connected with you more. But obviously you are a woman of faith, and our audience is, other moms just like you, trying to do the thing, trying to figure it out. And I would just love for you we always ask our podcast guests to share with us their definition of the kingdom-minded mompreneur. And so when Monique reached out to you and shared with you our podcast, I would love to know, like, kind of what was your perspective, or what would be your definition of that woman?
I think that's such a great question to end on. So I feel like a kingdom-minded mompreneur, which is a total mouthful, to me is a woman who has her priorities in check. So just to remind yourself that it's Jesus first, then your family, and then your business. I feel like a woman who is confident in her work can, love and serve people well because she's filled in Jesus first. So, I just think it's a hard thing for women specifically, because we're so emotional, to keep those priorities in check, but know that your work is important too. Your career is important too. God really cares about that also. Um, so yeah, that's what I think about. Our family is our first mission field, and our career is our second, and they both matter. So that is
Wow.
my definition.
I love that. I love how you said they both matter. They both matter. And you also shared that when you said, you're your best self when you're working towards something. And I've never thought about that perspective before until you said that. I thought, man, it's true. Like when we have something else that we are working towards, we show up as our best self for our families. So thank you so much, Chelsey, for being with us. And I know that those who are listening are thinking, okay, I want to follow her. I want to connect with her. So can you share with our audience how they can find you, how they can connect with you?
Of course. So my name is really, it's kind of hard to spell, but I tried really hard to make everything the same across all my platforms. So no matter where you find me, Instagram, Facebook, on the World Wide Web, it is Chelsey McMillen, Realtor. So Chelseey, and then McMillen, and then Realtor. So I would love for y'all to follow me, connect with me, reach out, say, hey, I heard you on your first podcast. So crazy.
And if you guys are in Mississippi, or if you know anybody who is in Mississippi, that is where Chelsey does real estate, and she would love to help you out.
Absolutely. Y'all are so cool. Thank you for having me. I love what you're doing. It's such a big deal.
Oh, well, thank you, Chelsey. Thanks so much for listening to the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur. If you loved what you heard today, could you stop and give us a 5-star rating and review? It helps our visibility on podcasting platforms so others like you can hear more of this message.
Also, if this episode encouraged you, we would love for you to pass it along to your own biz bestie and anyone else who could benefit. Lastly, don't forget that if you want to hang out with us just a little bit more, join us inside the Kingdom Minded Mompreneur community. Click the link in the show notes. Bye for now.